Hello guys and welcome back. In this video I will show you my thought process of web scraping. The site that I'm scraping is from a running competition which I myself participated in, and I thought it would be nice to have some insights on the competition. So I scraped the site, collected about 16,000 entries, which was the amount of participants in the competition, and I'll guide you through my thought process, and I'll show you which challenges I ran into and how I solved them. And at the end, I will visualize the data that I've collected. So make sure you stick around until the end and watch the whole video. And also, I spent a lot of time on this video and edited a lot of the video. So please watch the whole video and give me some feedback. I have not really edited that much before, so bear with me if it's not perfect, but I thought that it makes it a little bit more like straight to the point and don't waste so much time. So I hope you like it, and if you do, please leave a comment. That would be very much appreciated, and leave your feedback, and see you in my next video. The first thing I did was to check whether or not there were any API I could call instead of scraping the web page. Unfortunately, there was not, and I quickly saw that when I ran the website that it gave me a pop-up, which I'll show on the screen here. So that was our first challenge, to close this pop-up every time we run the scraper. So I basically just found out where it was located, and I told Selenium to click on that button and close it. And if it's not there, the button, then we will just pass and do nothing. Then I defined the columns I was interested in, which were the place of the participant, the starting number, the time, and the participant itself, and the team and the country of the participant. Then I find the table which holds all the rows, and I make a for loop here, which is not really necessary. However, I have done another video where I ran through every element and converted it into BeautifulSoup, so I think that was the reason I did it, but it's actually only running one time. And as you can see, I'm starting to struggle in a bit because I thought there would be more web elements, but the difference was that I'm grabbing the whole table, and in my other project I grabbed every single row by Selenium. So yeah, so that took me a bit of time to figure out, but when I look back at it now, it's very stupid. I did not need a for loop here because I set it up differently. So yeah, you'll see. I'll take a break, think about it, come back, get my mind right, and yeah, now I know what's wrong. And as you can see here, I ran into another problem, which was I was trying to collect every table row, and it gave me 251. So there were definitely other table rows which I were not interested in, because there's only 50 rows I'm interested in. So the first thing I did was to remove the first, because that's the header, and then I'm finding every table rows column. I'm not really sure what it's called, but as you can see, I'm checking if the length is 6, and that because that they have 3 different table rows for each device basically. So they have mobile, iPad, and they have computer, and I'm only interested in the ones on the computer. And that's because, as you actually can see on the right side, when I minimize the screen, not every data is displayed. So, and right there I'm just defining at which position each value is stored. And then I go back to my other project because this is basically just repetitive work. I append every single value to a list, and then later I turn it into a data frame. And as you can see, the scraper now runs successfully for one page. But as I wanted to scrape every single entry of this running competition, I put it into a method. And by the way, please help me if you know how to indent lines in Python more efficiently than that. Just putting spaces everywhere, it's very frustrating. I haven't figured a way to do it in VS Code. And here I'm just gonna loop through every single page. But I first started to just check if it worked with 2 pages, as you can see, and if it works with 2 pages, it should work with every 320 pages. So now I just append the different data frames to a bigger data frame and get all the data in one data frame, and then I will export it into a CSV file, as you can see. So when I run this and export it into a CSV file, the data looks like this. Right here we have 5 different columns, and now we just need to scrape all of the pages. So we have to change the code from 2 to 320, and we have to wait.
2 hours later.
Say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
So instead of 7 rows, we now have 9 rows. We have category, gender, and location, and we got rid of the timestamp, which is not really important in our case. I decided to scrape the age group as well as the gender of each participant. So instead of this URL, I changed it to this. So now it takes in the page to scrape, the gender, and the category. And the category just means the age group. And unfortunately, the setup for this is quite strange. So this means age group 0 to 14, and this is 15 to 16, and then it just goes on. So I made this list and loop through every element, and in that way we can tell more, we can have more information about each participant and have a look at their age group and gender, and that way get even more data. I had 2 possibilities to get the data. I could either do the same thing as I did before. This is what I'm scraping now. As you can see, the category, the gender. But the way it was before was it was like this. And then I couldn't really tell which age Simon were, for example. If I click on Simon, I can see that I can see his age, and I can see his age group here. So my considerations was either to get the link to each participant, or I could just filter out in the search query, which I thought to be a lot faster than clicking through each participant. Another thing I found out was that pandas actually have a method called read HTML, which takes in a table and then it automatically puts the data into columns specified in the table. So that is really smart and saves a lot of lines of code and makes it more readable actually. So I didn't know that existed before I came across another YouTube video showing it, and I was blown away because I have done the other method for quite some time now. We're just appending it to a list and then converting it into a data frame at the end. But this is a lot smarter. It takes care of the headers as well as the actual data. So even there was 251 tables as you saw earlier. So what I did was find the table that I actually wanted, and then I cut out every I only want to get the fourth row of each, because the site is set up so that if you are on a mobile device, it will show something, and if you're on an iPad, it will show something else. And then they're just basically hidden. And so to get rid of that, I dropped every fourth row. So now I only get the data I'm interested in. And down here, what I did was get the categories, as I said before, and I just run through each category for each gender. So it basically just runs until the data frame is empty. And then it appends the category and the gender. And that way we have more data to play around with. And it's exactly the same for women here. I also put in the location if I wanted to scrape another event. I actually tried to scrape the event Royal Run. We're in Copenhagen and Aarhus and Bornholm and Næstved and some other places. So I tried to scrape there, but unfortunately the values for Aarhus is different. The age categories are different, so it wasn't as easy as I first anticipated. Yeah, but now we have some more data to play around with, so let's see what insights we can get from. So right here, I'm converting the data into a data frame. I'm getting the CSV file that I just scraped. So the things we're gonna need is the Seaborn library and the matplotlib library and pandas. And this is the data frame. As you can see, 15,807 participants with 10 columns. And now we have the gender as well as the category, but this category you can't really tell much. So what I did was to create this age category function, which basically converts the different values into the actual age group, as you can see. And also I convert the time into minutes to have a more visual representation and do some data analysis. So I'm just gonna run it. And the first graph here shows us the age group versus the time. So this is the amount of minutes of the 5K run, and this is the age group. So we can see that the younger you are, the higher possibility of a shorter time on the 5K, except for the 0 to 14 years old, which makes sense. And down here we have the age group versus the time. So you can see that this is from 0 years to 13 years old, and this is 15 to 16, 17 to 19. And we can see that the older you get, the slower time you will possibly get, as you can see. And I also made this plot to see how many participants per age group. And as we can see, there is a lot of younger participants, which is actually quite funny. I don't know, but I think it's because that this race is not really like any professional race. It's more like everybody can participate, and even if you are 100 years old, you can still participate. You can even walk the distance if you want. So there's a lot of different kind of people participating in this race, and a lot of them have taking their kids with them, it seems like. Okay, so, and also you can see in the category for like 45 to 55, that is the most present age categories. And we can see that almost nobody is over 85 years old. But respect to the guy in this age group still participating. Okay, so right here we can see the amount of males versus females, and we can see that most of the participants are females. And yeah, this is basically just another graph showing the exact same thing. We can see that about 6,000 is men, and around 9,500, I guess, is women. Down here, I put in some categories to see what the average time and what the percentages of people doing sub 20 on the 5K and sub 25 and so on. So I'll just run this, and as you can see, overall the majority of people actually runs the 5K over 30 minutes. I was surprised that it was actually 85% that ran slower than 30 minutes. But as I said before, I think it's because it's not about getting the best time, it's about the atmosphere and the experience this run it's all about. And we can see that only 0.4% actually ran the 5K in under 20 minutes, which, side note, is actually my goal. So there's definitely some work to do before that can happen. We can also see that only 2.8% is running under 25 minutes. And down here, it's the same thing, but this time it's for the men. So we can see for the men, there are 0.8% that runs sub 20 minutes, and 5% that runs sub 25. And for women, it's actually only 0.1% to run sub 20. So a big applause to the women who managed to run this race in under 20 minutes. So I created this column, did people improve on their time? Because I thought it would be funny to scrape the results of this race, but then last year, and then compare the names and see if people have actually improved and which people have improved their time the most. That could just be a fun thing to explore. But unfortunately, I have like zero memory on my computer. This iMovie thing took up 75 gigabytes. So I actually didn't have enough space on my computer. So I actually just ordered a SSD with 1000 gigabyte. So that will definitely help me. But that's actually the reason why I stop here. So maybe I'll make another video comparing 2022 and 2021 races and comparing if people have improved their time or not. So if you are interested in that, please make sure to leave a comment and let me know that you're interested, and I will definitely make a video about it. And thank you for sticking around this long, and I'll see you in my next video.